About an adventure of a different kind. Dan Steele and Natasha McCarthy have been training for months for their tip-to-tip bike ride across PEI. The friends both have been diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's disease. They'll be biking from Tignish to Elmira starting next week on Tuesday, along with some other people with Parkinson's. The self-proclaimed Pedaling Parkies joined me here in the studio to talk about their upcoming trip. Good morning, Natasha and Dan. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
How are you feeling with this big tip-to-tip ride just a few days away now?
Terrified.
It's good to be honest. What about you, Dan?
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been doing too much biking in past years since my diagnosis, so I'm actually looking forward to it.
How have you both been preparing for this? Because this is 5 days, 5 very busy days.
5 busy days, 273 kilometers in 5 days.
Yep. So how do you get ready for something like that?
Well, we've probably not been biking enough, but we're trying to get as many training days in as we can. Get our butts ready, apparently, is the biggest issue.
My wife and I have been training indoors with our bikes on trainers, so that's been some help. But I've been training with a recumbent, and the recumbent is nice and easy on the butt, but unfortunately I won't be able to use that bike because it's creating too much drag, so I'm back to an upright bike.
Okay. So you'll be ready, though. You'll be ready to go on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And why was this something both of you wanted to do?
Thankfully, Natasha has been my encouragement. She's been, for want of a better word, badgering me to get back to being a little more physically active. We both know about the research that shows that people with Parkinson's benefit greatly from staying physically active. It helps produce the dopamine that they're lacking in their brains. The dopamine producing brain cells produce more, and so it's very helpful for us.
And for you, Natasha, you know, you're motivating Dan, but you're no stranger to challenges here. We've talked with you about a few of them in the past.
I'm not, but this one's a little bit out of my usual realm. Dan called my bluff on this one. I've been kind of asking him for 3 years to, go to the gym or go for a bike ride or whatever, and he didn't cooperate with me. So I threw out the craziest idea ever because he used to be a cyclist, and he rode a bike across Canada before. So I said, well, hey, why don't you ride across PEI? If you do, I'll do it with you. He said no to a walk. Who would have thought he would say yes to riding across PEI on a bike? But he said yes.
Be careful
my husband,
what you wait for.
Yeah, my husband jokes that be careful what you offer to people. So here we are. But if it gets Dan riding again, then it's all worth it.
Natasha's shared her story with us in the past and has written a blog about her experiences with the diagnosis and life since then. Do you mind telling us your story, Dan, when you received this diagnosis?
Sure. Yeah, I was diagnosed about 6 years ago. Originally, I was given not so much a diagnosis, but a description of my condition as being Parkinson'sism, which is basically an umbrella term that encompasses anything that's Parkinson's-like. And it was about 2 years after that I got the official diagnosis of Parkinson's. But it's described as a degenerative neurological disease with no cure. And I mean, that's hard to wrap your head around.
Sure. And how old were you when you got this diagnosis?
About 42, I think, somewhere in there.
When you hear that word, I mean, it can't be something it was even on your radar at that age.
No, I was quite physically active, skiing during the winter months and cycling during the summer, cycling to work every day, eating well, having an active lifestyle. Yeah, you don't expect this. Nobody does.
Natasha, remind us, how old were you when you got word of this?
I was 35 when things really started to hit, and 36 when I was officially diagnosed. So I'm in my 4th year now.
And how are you doing?
I am getting worse, that's for sure. I went from, 1 prescription, 4 pills a day 3 years ago, which worked like a miracle at the time. And now I'm up to 24 pills a day, 3 different types to kind of look the same to the outside world. And I have dystonia as well, which is another neurological disease that some people with Parkinson's get. And it is your brain fires messages to your muscle groups to contract. It's quite painful. So I was actually just at my neurologist in St. John 2 weeks ago, and we're investigating doing deep brain stimulation. So I might be in about a year's time getting some brain surgery done, but it can be a really effective treatment. So we're looking into that. We'll see what happens.
And so it all happens next week. You're cycling across PEI.
A week from today, Tignish to Elmira.
Tignish to Elmira. And so tell us a bit about this, the organization of it, and obviously you're raising awareness that you know there's a community here on PEI. Why don't you tell us a bit about that, Natasha? Dan's
been great at the logistics part because he's done this trip across PEI before. I'm new to this cycling game, so but we do have some great sponsors. McQueen's Bike Shop has sponsored us, and they're lending us their bike rack. If we didn't have that, that would be a whole different ball game to transport bikes. We've got a great guy, Dennis Dunn, who is retired and has volunteered 5 days of his time to travel the island, stop at every rest stop with us and tow bikes. And the Mill River Experience has donated rooms at the resort for us for our first night, and the Quality Inn in Summerside has donated a couple of rooms for us for our second night. And then we've got lots of volunteers and people that have opened their homes to us to stay at, and it's a lot more planning than I thought it would be, but but yeah, I think we're well on our way to get it all sorted out.
And are you raising funds along the way, or is this really just about saying we're here and we're capable of doing
No,
this?
We're raising funds as well, and all of the money that we do raise is going to stay in PEI to be used for programs and services that we have here for islanders that live with Parkinson's disease. So every Tuesday we have a movement style dance class, and every Thursday we have a neurological and music class that incorporates singing and breathing exercises to maintain our voices. That's another issue that we get.
By the way, we're hoping to open up a second service of that nature in Summerside. So if there's anybody in the listening audience from Summerside who's interested in that, let us know.
And we also have a KO'd boxing, does a boxing class for us on Saturdays. So if anybody wants to donate, you can visit our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/PEI Pedalling Parkies. That's what we've called ourselves.
And you're putting the invitation out for when you cross that finish line. And I know you're going to cross that finish line. So
we will, one way or another. Whether they're dragging us or we're crawling or dragging our bikes, we'll get there somehow.
And so people can join. It's the 10th, right? June the 10th?
June the 10th, yeah. Barring any particularly bad weather, but right now it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, in Elmira, people can be there to cheer you on.
Yeah, it's near the train station museum, and we're hoping that we don't really know what time. That's day 5. We're going to be tired. There's 5 of us with Parkinson's. 3 that are doing the whole trip, and there's 2 from Nova Scotia that are coming for the last 2 days, which is awesome. So, we do recognize we have Parkinson's, and something, we may have to be slower on a given day.
If you need to stop, sure.
So we don't know what time we'll get to Elmira, but if people want to stay tuned to the Facebook page, we're going to update on there a few times a day, kind of where our progress is and how we're getting along.
So Dan, for someone whose physical activity has been a key part of your life, Natasha was mentioning you cycled across the country at one point. What will this mean to you to get across that finish line?
Well, I've gotten across that finish line at least more than a dozen times myself in the past. So to join up with new friends and past friends, that's going to be special.
What about for you, Natasha? And I know it's all about kind of sending a message to your kids too.
Well, yeah, bad things can happen to us, but we just have to push through and make the best out of, we only get one life to live. So, yeah.
It's not too hard to find silver linings in all of this. The opportunity to show our children how to deal with adversity and to get them involved in volunteerism and things like this that show empathy and support. It's fantastic in that way.
Well, I wish you both the best of luck and safe travels, and we'll be following along, and we'll send out a link to that website for more information, make donations. Thank you both for coming.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure to speak with Natasha McCarthy, Dan Steele. They're both biking across Prince Edward Island next week. And as they mentioned, you can follow their progress on their Facebook page, PEI Pedalling Parkies. This is Island Morning on 96.0.